Yes, Vicky, do you think the president should listen to and change this decision, but rather going to look for money, you know, from wherever? Because as we understand, we now have far better reserves. So why not fall on it and help the farmers?
I think that we have to make progress in the cocoa. And to do that, we have to stop the cocoa politics. That's the first point I want to make. Because as we all know, these problems have been with us from time immemorial. And I do sympathize with the president that he had to do a difficult balancing act between the greater good, if you like, and how to protect the interests of our cherished and very hard work.
Greater good at the time that Galamsey is taking over our cocoa farms.
I'm going to make that point, that, you know, I feel that our cocoa sector has now come to a point where it's facing a moment of structural truth. Let me put it that way. Our cocoa sector is facing a moment of structural truth. Between the lack of proper investment into the industry and Galamsey, the sector is really suffering. And actually, when you see the average age of the cocoa farmer, they're old. You know, these are people who have worked 41. I heard one saying he had worked like 50 years ever since he was a kid.
They have nothing to show for it.
They have nothing to show for it.
They should be wealthy.
Yes, and because their money is benefiting the whole nation, and the youth are not being attracted to cocoa farming. So
it used to be attractive because you could point to a cocoa farmer and tell his wealth.
Exactly. So all that is gone. And we used to be #1 in the world. Then we are now at #2. And the way Ecuador is going, very soon we'll be #3. So what is it about us? That we just we take a lot for granted in this country. We take a lot for granted. And I think that just because we're getting reserves from gold and other things does not mean that we should abandon our core asset. We must not do that, because other people are trying to get into the space. So there's still value.
That's right.
In being in that space. So for me, reform, yes, we must have reforms. The proposed reforms are quite ambitious. But the real question is, are they economically coherent? Will they work in the long term? Because right now we have to look at things long term. Are they fiscally sustainable? And operationally, will they be feasible? And most importantly, will it protect and support our farmers? Because at the end of the day, that is what this is all about.
For a sector that is accountable for a lot of massive road infrastructure and all of that.
Scholarships.
What's the crime in providing the cushion?
Well, I mean, this borrowing to do that, we keep doing, that's always our plaster, isn't it, when we have a problem? We always have a gaping wound, and then we go and borrow and plug that.
The way I process it is that if you need like $4 billion to help them out, that's really their money anyway.
Yeah, but look at what we are just coming out of. Look at the economy and what we are just coming out of. And I think, so I don't think that we should have a quick fix. As painful and as difficult as it is. And I'm with the farmers 200%. You know, I am. I mean, I heard some of them and I was like,
we are grateful.
You know.
So, you are with them, and at the same time, you are with the decision.
No, I'm not with the decision.
Okay.
I'm into making decisions that long term will benefit them and strengthen the sector.
Okay.
That's what I support, because I think it's in their interest and in the nation's interest to strengthen the sector. And I think it's good that they've really blown this thing up onto the national stage, because they've suffered in silence for too long.
Yeah.
They really have. And nobody goes there. People just sit in Accra, collect the cash, and do what they would with them.
So the minority deserve commendation for staying on this subject.
Oh, I think the cocoa farmers deserve commendation. This is not about politics.
Yeah.
For me, this is about the farmers, pure and simple, and Ghana.
But it's the minority that has amplified their voice.
Yes, but I don't want to politicize it.
Okay.
I want us to focus on the farmer, pure and simple.
Okay.
And I think that's what Ghanaians, that's what they are looking at I mean, I heard the deputy minister say that there's a 150 million gap that government will have to absorb. For me, whatever package we come up with, the test is simple. Will that situation, will the solution reduce future bailouts? Or will it merely delay or postpone them? Because it's very important that the solution passes this litmus test. Otherwise, we're just, kidding ourselves that we are doing anything. So when you look at the fact that if it is true, and I don't know whether it is, the government stands to absorb 150 million debt in this, then what it does is that it moves the risk from Cocoa Board's books onto the national balance sheet. And in an IMF program environment, which is what we're in now, these repeated sector bailouts become macroeconomic signals. And all the gains that we've so painstakingly made could be eroded.
That's the point of the president.
Yes, but then when you look at the farmers as well, and you look at this proposed automatic price adjustment, if the price drops sharply mid-cycle and there's no stabilization mechanism, we need to have a stabilization mechanism. If there's no stabilization mechanism, then the farmer effectively becomes the shock absorber for the London and New York commodity traders.
Right.
And we can't afford that. So for me, the critical policy question becomes, will automatic adjustment include a guaranteed floor price?
Okay.
That's number one. And will it also include a stabilization fund? I think those two things are really important, because the reform must not just be economically efficient, it must also be socially sustainable.
All right. In a minute, can you tell us the power situation at your home, in your office? They are both a bit haphazard. I mean, I've had the vanishing cash as well. You've also experienced it?
I've experienced that. And actually, a lot of my neighbors are now moving on to solar. I myself, my boiler system, my hot water system is all now on solar.
All right.
And I'm thinking of doing the lights next, because it's just not reliable. It's expensive and it's not reliable. If you're paying for something and you feel you're getting value for money, then,